Okay, it's Friday, February 23rd, and spring training has arrived, and the Cardinals are back on the field. It's been a long winter. I was so frustrated at the end of last year. I was looking forward to winter for one of the first times in I don't know how long, but I have renewed my interest in the Cardinals and have renewed optimism, and I am ready for the 18 season. Uh, Recap the 17 season. It was horrible. I was frustrated. You guys may or may not have seen my video at the end of the season last year. I was completely just done with the Cardinals. They were so bad last year, as far as I was concerned. Fundamentally terrible. Uh, they had finished at 83 and 78 or something like that. They were just, they ran it until the last week, but it never felt like we were ever in it. And I quit watching. I quit watching, I don't know, early August. I just gave up. They'd make a run, and then they'd lose several games, and I just said, screw it. And then when they did make a run again, I refused to watch because I knew they'd choke, and they did. They had a bad run at the end of the season that cost them. Where they finish up 2-7 the last 9 games. They opened the season 3-9, and they had a stretch in the middle of late May, early June where they were 5-16 for over a 21 game stretch. Those three stretches right there, the beginning of the season, the end of the season, and that stretch into May, or from May 16th to June 8th, where they were 5-16. 10-32. That's the season right there. Done. Finished. Uh, it's hard to recover from something like that. And they recovered from the 3-9 fine, but then they turned around and went 5-16 in May and June. It's so it is what it is. And they were horrible. Last year's team was horrible, and on social media, I read. How the Cardinals didn't do anything all off season, didn't do enough, didn't spend enough money. I think they had a pretty good off season. I really do. I think they spent their money wisely. I think they made good trades. Uh, so I'm not at all upset with what they did. Now, could they have done more? Sure. I mean, but I think they did it the way the Cardinals do things. It's a proven way over the last 2 decades of how to put a winning product on the field. And the Cardinals are going to be competitive, and maybe not quite the World Series winning team that coming into the season that is expected to win the World Series, but they're going to be competitive, and you never know. Uh, you know, uh, but this team is much better than last year. Last year we opened up the season with uh, 25 guys on the roster. 12 of those guys are gone. Okay, so they're gone. So there's been a lot of turnover. Over half the team's been turned over from the opening day last year. We had guys like Peralta in the starting lineup opening day last year. Peralta, Diaz, Grichuk, Piscotti, and we had those kind of guys. They're all gone. Okay, they're all gone. Uh, as a matter of fact, like I said, 12 of the 25 on the opening day roster are gone this year. This is the new roster. Grichuk, Piscotti, Peralta, Diaz, Fryer, Broxton, Sokolovich, Rosenthal, Segrist, O, Leak, and Lynn. They're all gone. Now, I would have liked to have probably kept Lance Lynn uh, to solidify our rotation a little bit, but we'll get to pitching in a minute. So we've got a better team this year. So what moves did they make that? Well, first of all, they brought in a couple of coaches, and the key guy is Jose Oquendo. We talked about that in the last video. Oquendo's going to make a difference. Oquendo will make a difference defensively. Now, are they all going to be Gold Glovers because Oquendo's there? No, but they should play the game fundamentally better with Oquendo than they did the last couple of years. I mean, we were terrible in a lot of areas, base running, getting the bunt down. Defensively, just horrible. We were horrible in those areas. Oquendo should help fix that. They brought McGee in. Willie McGee, by all accounts, the players love him. They listen to him when Willie says something, they listen. Uh, Willie McGee maybe seems quiet to the public, but I think that he's got that quiet leadership going, and these players listen to him. So I think with McGee, he'll help with the outfield defense, which I think our outfield is fantastic, but he'll help with the hitting and base running. And McGee, just his presence will help. So I think the coaching staff is better. New pitching coach Mike Maddox. You know, we needed a change. I've already read where he's got a different philosophy than Lilliquist and Duncan before him did, and maybe it's something with the arms we got coming up through the system. It's the kind of he's of the mind of pitching up in the zone with these power arms more than we have in the past, where we was always looking for ground balls and pitching down in the zone. He's more of the mind of pitching it up, throwing it by him, chest high. So I'll play power baseball. Let's play power baseball. Let's do it. We got some power arms in the organization, especially these young kids. So Mike Maddox will help tremendously with, hopefully Matheny and him work out a system. I don't think Matheny's very good with the bullpen. I just don't. I think he makes mistakes with the bullpen on who he brings in. Hopefully Maddox will help with that. So the coaching staff's better, and I think that's what's going to help. Now, as far as the moves that we made, let's start with the outfield. Okay, Piscotty's gone, Grichuk's gone. And they brought in Marcell Ozuna. I wanted Giancarlo Stanton, but he didn't want to come here, and that's fine. We did get the second best guy, I think. Marcell Ozuna. This guy's a monster. Okay, this guy can play. And let's hope that he is the real deal, and I think he is. He's got the right attitude, apparently. It seems like the players already love him. He's from what I've heard from the Marlins websites and so forth. He is a fan favorite. He's a guy that the teammates love. He's a rah-rah guy, a lot like Carlos Martinez. Yachty and him get along. Carlos and him are friends from way back. I think Ozuna's a great fit for this team. I really do. I think maybe he's a better fit than Giancarlo Stanton now that I've looked it up more and done a little more research on it, because Stanton is, let's face it, Stanton is a superstar, and he is. I mean, not to say his talent ain't great, but maybe he comes in here with that superstar attitude and doesn't mesh like I think Ozuna is going to mesh with these players. Our outfield is very good. I think our outfield with Ozuna in left, Pham in center. Pham, oh my God! I didn't when I gave up on the Cardinals last year. I really stopped paying close attention, and until I started digging into the numbers, I didn't realize just how damn good a season Pham had last year after they brought him up. I mean, he had some friggin' monster numbers, just monster numbers. So if Pham does anywhere near that over the course of 162 games, he'll probably pay 150 or so as long as he don't get hurt. We got ourselves an MVP caliber player playing center field. Great defensive player too. If his eyesight's good, if they got that figured out with whatever that problem was he had with his eyesight, Tommy Pham, his numbers just knocked me off my feet. I didn't realize he had that great a season. So Pham, and then Fowler moves to right field. Probably doesn't really have the arm for right field, but it'll probably be more less wear and tear on him to be in right field rather than center. Fowler, I look for Fowler to have a bounce back year. Really, Fowler didn't have a bad year after a slow start, which several Cardinals had a slow start last year. Let's face it, after June, the Cardinals weren't bad last year, except for the tail end of the season there. After June, the Cardinals weren't a bad ball club. But, Fowler picked it up, and Molina picked it up, and Carpenter picked it up a little bit, but they all started so slow that, we couldn't recover. But our outfield is as good as any outfield in the major leagues. I think on paper right now they're as good as anybody in the major leagues. Now, who's going to be the fourth outfielder? That's a good question. They got a lot of guys in camp. Uh, Harrison Bader, uh, you know, this Tyler O'Neill, who is a friggin' monster. I mean, I had no idea just how big that guy was until I seen a picture of him and then watched him play today. He is a big boy. He don't get cheated at the plate. He swings. I mean, he gets every bit of the swing. I don't know if he's going to make the club, but it's obvious that when he hits the ball, he hits it friggin' hard. Uh, but he does strike out a lot. But as far as who's going to make the opening day roster as the fourth outfielder, I don't know. It's probably Harrison Bader. That would be my guess. But it probably boils down to Bader, O'Neill, maybe the let me find it here. Odolis, Garcia, Mercado, or somebody like that. Might break the roster. They're going to carry 13 pitchers. So, but the outfield is set. I think that it probably boils down. It'll probably be Harrison Bader, at least to start. I think there's going to be a revolving door with the minor leagues. Just if for no other reason, just to rotate some of these outfielders through to keep them with enough playing time, both in the minors and coming up to the majors and pinch hitting and playing in the fourth spot to keep everybody with enough playing time. I think the lion's share of the play in the outfield obviously is going to go to our main three. I think we finally have a three-man outfield that should be able to play every day, all three of them. So now we go to the infield. Who's our infielders? Well, we didn't pick up an infielder through trade or anything in the off season, so it's going to look a lot like it did at the end of last year. I think it's pretty certain that Paul DeYoung is going to play shortstop. He had some pretty good numbers. Now I worry about him. I'm not positive that he is as good as advertised, but he's pretty freaking good. I looked at his minor league numbers. He's hit everywhere he's been, so I think he'll be all right. I don't know if he'll be the kind of hitter he was last year, over the course of a full season, but let's hope he is. Jerko will start at third. Carpenter first, Wong at second. I think that's how it's going to play out. Garcia will be one of the infielders, fifth infielder, infield sub, the middle infield sub. And as far as the other spot, Jose Martinez will probably make the club. I think that's going to boil down to one spot's going to be really up for grabs. The Cardinals don't have a lot of left-handed hitting. Voit could, if he has a good spring, he could find a way into it. He's an emergency catcher. He's also an outfielder and a first baseman. So you don't discount Voit making the club in some capacity. This is all barring injuries. Now, let's go to the starting pitching. That's where we have a little bit of a question mark. Starting pitching. We know who they have penciled in, obviously. They have Carlos Martinez, Michael Wacha, Adam Wainwright, Adam Wainwright, Miles Mikolas, and who was the other one? Who am I missing here? My mind's drawing a blank. Wainwright, Martinez, Mikolas. Who's the other one? Weaver. I'm sorry, Luke Weaver. Luke Weaver. He was pretty good last year. Is he that good? Let's hope he is. The good thing about our starting pitching, a lot of people are upset because we didn't go out and sign Yu Darvish. I didn't want Yu Darvish anyway. Or Arrieta, or make a trade for Archer. I'd like to have Archer, but we ain't going to get him. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to give him up. And I think they went the farm for Archer down there and Colomé, so that's not going to happen. But I think that Weaver is as good as advertised. Now, will he regress a little bit second year? Possible. But, so Martinez, I think, is due to bust out. Weaver, I think, will be good. Waka, I think, will be good. It's his third time through the order is usually where he runs into problems. But these days, they talk about a pitcher only has to go 6 innings, which I don't agree with, but whatever. So now we got two question marks in my mind. Miles Mikolas from Japan. They've seen something. I don't know much about the guy. Haven't found a whole lot of video on him. I don't really know much about him, but the scouts and the Cardinals weren't the only team in on him. I mean, the Cubs were trying to get him. A lot of teams were in on him. So I think let's hope that he is as good as the Cardinals think he is. And then we have the veteran Adam Wainwright, and I have no doubt Wainwright is in shape, and Wainwright will bust his ass to do everything he can to compete. I don't know if his body's going to let him. I said that in the last video. I hope and pray that we get the Adam Wainwright from a couple of years ago, and not the one that was throwing an 85-mile-an-hour fastball last year. There had to be a problem. You don't just lose 7, 8 mile an hour off your fastball overnight. Okay, so he had some surgery in the offseason. Let's hope that solved the problem. Let's hope we get the old Wainwright back. And we got Alex Reyes on the disabled list still. Tommy John surgery. Supposed to be, they're going to hold him back, and probably around May 1st we'll get him. He's a fallback guy for the rotation if necessary. And we've also got some minor leaguers that are just lights out, I think. Flaherty's good. Dakota Hudson is good. This Hines, is that his name, Hines? Hesley, Jordan Hicks, not Hines, Hicks, that's the guy I'm thinking of. Jordan Hicks, these guys throw friggin' hard. Okay, now I don't think any of them are going to break camp with the club, but I do think it's possible that by the end of the year, somewhere around the middle of the year, one of these three, Hudson, Hicks, or Ryan Helsley, I think one of those three will be the closer. I doubt it's Hudson. If I had to guess, and judging by the year he had last year, and granted it was A-ball, and then he moved up to Double-A, I think. But granted, by the year that he had, I see him starting in Double-A, Ryan Helsley. If he still throws like he did last year, I could see him in the closer's role in July or August. If we haven't really solidified that spot yet. We'll get to the bullpen in a minute. But those three guys throw the ball hard. Hudson doesn't quite as hard as the other two, but Hicks and Hesley are in the 100-mile-an-hour range. So is Reyes. We got some power arms. Okay, so we've also got some other guys you just don't know. I mean, Austin Gomber, he's a lefty. I don't know how advanced he is. We don't have any left-handers in the starting rotation, and that kind of bothers me a little bit. We need Lyons in the bullpen, so we can't put him in the rotation. I think he'd be a good starter, but Lyons could be closing for all we know, beginning of the season. So let's go to the bullpen. The bullpen is pretty solid, I think. I think the bullpen. I know that it's not as bad as last year. Okay, I don't, you just, like I said, you never know. Bullpens are fickle. Every year is a different year. Same guys could be great one year and just absolutely horrible the next. All I know is last year's bullpen was terrible and it never got better. And we kept running the same guys out there for too long. Broxton and and some of these guys. Rosenthal really didn't get it together until late. And when he got it together, he was very, very good. But he blew out his elbow. Now he's on Tommy John and not unsigned. And who knows if we'll ever see him in a Cardinals uniform again. But this This bullpen, I think, with some of the additions we got, Dominic Leone, I think he's a sleeper. This guy had this guy throws very, very well. Threw well in Toronto. Had very good numbers in Toronto. Uh, Also, Bud Norris threw well first half last year. They picked him up from California. I know a lot of people were very upset when we signed Norris because we signed him the day after the Cubs signed Darvish, and everybody thought that was an answer to the Darvish. That's not an answer to the Darvish shooting. Or signing. What it was is probably in the works for a while, and they made the deal. He gives us options in spring training. It wasn't a great deal of money. You bring guys like this in. They brought in. It's like bringing in Jason Mott. These whether or not these guys break camp with the club or not is up in the air. But you bring in all these options and you make them compete. Now, obviously Leone's gonna break camp. I think that the bullpen is going to be where most of the competition is for the starting 25-man roster at the start of the season. Brebbia, Bowman, Lyons, Brett Cecil, for God's sake. Let's hope Cecil's better. He was horrible last year. I don't think he's as bad as he was last year. And in some cases, last year he wasn't as bad, but he had pitched so terrible at the beginning that people just were tired of looking at him. And then every time he walked out there, it seemed like he blew something. When you're left-handed and you count on the guy to get the left-handers out and he can't do it, you lose faith. Let's hope he's better this year. Tyler Lyons was lights out last year. Lyons and Bowman both were pretty good last year. The rest of them sucked. But now we got, if Cecil rebounds, Lyons and Bowman will make the squad. Leone will make the squad. They're probably going to go with 8 relievers. Leone will make the squad. Gregerson, he's another guy. He closed for Houston some. So I think it'll be whoever emerges will be the closer. Whoever emerges in spring training, beginning of the year, whoever gets the job done, I think that's who they'll go to. At least until Reyes is ready. And if Reyes is ready and the 5-man rotation is throwing well, and we don't need to make any changes in the rotation, I think Reyes will be the guy that goes to the bullpen. He'll be the guy that ends up being a closer because he throws the ball 100 mile an hour. And you always like having that coming out of the pen. So I think that this team is a lot better than it was last year. So don't fret, boys and girls, on social media. Please, give this team a chance. I'm an optimist. I'll admit it. I get tired of reading all the negative stuff about the Cardinals didn't do nothing, blah, blah, blah. But I think this team's ready. I think now, could we make another move or two in the spring? Depends. There's guys out there that still unsigned. I think it'll boil down to who gets hurt. For instance, if somebody like I don't know, we lose an outfielder, or Carlos Gonzalez is still out there. We got there's guys out there that can be had right now. If we lose an infielder, there's guys out there that can be had. So, but they're not going to make any moves. I don't think. Arrieta's still out there, of course, as a starter. And if we lose one of our starters, you might see something like that. But they don't want to commit the kind of money that Arrieta wants because of all our arms in the minors. Well, these guys are this close. So I don't want to commit 6 years to somebody that we aren't going to need a year from now because our minor league arms are that good. I think they are that good. Maybe not all of them, but more than enough to get the job done. This team's going to be pretty good. I think they'll compete, and if the ball rolls the right way, you never know. So that's my 2 cents on the Cardinals. 2018 at the beginning of spring training. I'll probably do a post spring training video after they break camp at the beginning of the season. See who they break camp with, and we'll discuss what we think will happen and maybe have some predictions for you. That's my 2 cents on the Birds, and I will see you next time. See ya.